Hey everyone, welcome back to Living Beyond the Invisible, A Walk with Heather, the podcast that sheds light on the realities of living with invisible disabilities. I'm your host Heather, and this week's episode is called The Truth About Service Dogs. Today's episode is one I've wanted to do for a long time because it answers two of the most common questions I get. How do you get a service dog, and what's the difference between a service dog and other types of support animals like emotional support dogs or therapy dogs? We're going to start with the journey, what it takes to acquire and train a legitimate service dog. Then we'll break down what truly separates service dogs from emotional support animals and therapy dogs in the eyes of the law. So let's get into it. Getting a service dog is not like adopting a pet. It's a life-changing decision, but it's also a serious commitment of time, money, and emotional energy. So what is a service dog? Well, these are working animals, not pets, and they are individually trained to perform specific tasks for people with disabilities. Who qualifies, you may ask? To qualify for a service dog, you must have a disability that substantially limits one or more major life activities. This can include physical disability, psychiatric conditions, sensory impairments, or neurological disorders. But diagnosis alone isn't enough. Service dogs must be able to perform specific trained tasks that directly mitigate your disability, and we will talk about those in a little bit. Service dogs are protected under the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA. This federal law guarantees people with disabilities the right to be accompanied by their service dog in virtually all public spaces, including restaurants, stores, schools, public transportation, and workplaces. No certification or ID is legally required under the ADA. And businesses may not ask for proof of training or documentation. They may ask only two questions. Is the dog a service animal required because of a disability? And what work or task has the dog been trained to perform? It is important to note that only dogs, and in very rare cases, miniature horses, can be recognized as service animals under the ADA. So how do you train one, and who trains a service dog? All right, so let's talk about it. There are really two different ways you can go about it. You can get a program trained dog. These are dogs that are raised and trained by nonprofit or for-profit organizations before being matched with a person in need. Pros of this are that the dogs are highly skilled, carefully matched to you, and the training is 100% done for you. The cons to that, there can be long wait lists, which is often years, and it can cost up to $50,000 out of your pocket. There are some nonprofit programs that will fundraise on your behalf, but many still require a significant personal contribution. Or you can owner train. This means you either train the dog yourself or work with a trainer over time. Training the dog yourself is 100% okay through the ADA. The pros of this are that you have more control over what dog you choose and what training they receive. Shorter wait times, and the cost is cheaper. Now the cons, it's hard work. Many dogs wash out, which means they aren't cut out for service dog work and are better suited as pets. The cost still adds up because you need professional training, training gear, vet care, and evaluations. It can easily add up to $10,000 or more. This is where I'm going to tell you my service dog story. We're going to start all the way back in 2016 when I brought home a sweet but tiny Chihuahua named Lulabelle. At the time, I didn't have mobility needs, just cardiac and some psychiatric needs for my PTSD. So Lula was the perfect size to perform those tasks. Unfortunately, as a puppy, she broke her leg through an accident, and we had to wash her. After we washed her, she was sort of my unofficial ESA though. She went everywhere with me inside our house and inside our yard, not like out in public. But if I moved, and she was amazing at knowing when my blood pressure was off. She actually taught herself how to warn me of that. Sadly, we lost her in June of last year, and I have not been the same since. But moving on. Then in 2020, we purchased a golden retriever through a reputable breeder. We brought Gryffindor Winchester, or Griffin for short, home in July of 2020. He was and still is the sweetest guy, but we all know the crap show that was 2020, so training did not go as planned. After speaking with several local trainers and having two say they would work with him, both ended up flaking on us. One never showed up at all, and the other one only worked with him for about 20 minutes a week for a few months. Then he stopped returning my calls and texts altogether. It was money wasted and led to a lot of frustration for me and for Griffey. I tried training him myself, but eventually we just had to wash him. Griffin is now just our fluffy, lovable boy, and he makes a great pet. In February of this year, we rescued a sweet 9-week-old puppy who we named Samuel Winchester, but we call him Sammy. And yes, I have a deep love for the TV show Supernatural, if you couldn't tell. But with Sammy, who is a Great Pyrenees mix, we're doing it differently this time. I have a trainer who is actually working with us and helping me to learn how to train Sammy on my own. We've been at it about a month now, and so far he's doing amazing. We still have a long road ahead of us, and there is still a chance that he'll have to be washed out, but I'm hopeful he has what it takes. His personality is great, and he doesn't seem to be afraid of much. But if he does have to be washed, it's okay. He'll be here and he'll be loved just as Griffin is and just like our Cocker Spaniel Ellie is. Now, I've told you my story, so I want to discuss what it takes to actually train a service dog. Training takes 18 to 24 months, and it includes foundational or basic training, which is basic obedience, sit, stay, heel, recall, socialization in different environments, exposure to distractions and people. Then there's public access training, which includes the fact that the dog must stay calm in busy areas like stores, restaurants, and airports. They must also ignore food, other animals, and people. There is no federal certification, but many programs use a public access test to confirm readiness. And finally, task training. This is the most important part. The dog must reliably perform specific tasks tailored to your disability. These are not tricks, they are medical or functional supports. Examples: alerting to changes in blood pressure or glucose levels, guiding someone during dissociative episodes, deep pressure therapy for anxiety, and opening doors, fetching medication, or providing bracing. Sammy, if he is trained, will be a mobility support dog, and so he will open doors, fetch different things for me, and possibly provide some bracing. All right, let's move on to the emotional cost and risks, because it's not just time and money that's involved. Training a service dog is rewarding, but also very draining. Many dogs, even well-bred ones, don't make it. If you're training your own dog, prepare for setbacks, emotional lows, and the possibility of washing out. Here is a financial breakdown that will explain some of the risks and cost. Whether you're owner training or going through a program, you're going to have to spend money. Depending on where you get your dog, you're looking at the very least, an adoption fee. If you purchase from a reputable breeder, you're looking at anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 or more. Vet care and health screenings are not cheap and are likely to cost anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a year. This includes heartworm medication, flea and tick treatment, vaccines, and whatever other vet care or screenings you are going to need for your animal. Training can cost anywhere from $100 to $200 a session or more. I also talked to a few trainers who don't do per session, and the total amount was going to be close to $10,000 for me to train Sammy with them. You also need training gear and equipment, which can cost anywhere from $100 to $500, depending on what gear you get. Once your dog is trained, you'll want a service dog vest, which can cost anywhere from $30 to $100, depending on the style you choose. Then if you have any travel costs, boarding fees, or emergencies, those can add up pretty quickly as well. There are grants and fundraising options out there, but they are few and far between. No matter what, this is an investment in your independence and safety, but it also comes with great risks because you can spend all of that money, do everything right, and still have to wash your dog. Now, when it comes to service dogs, there are scams out there. So what can you do to avoid these? Well, first of all, you need to be aware of fake online certifications or ID cards. Those are not legally valid. Then if you find a dog for sale that is basically an instant service dog that has no real task training, you want to be wary of that. You don't want a trainer that has harsh or abusive training methods. That's not good for the dog. And you do want to look for credentialed trainers, transparent organizations, and positive training methods. So now that we've covered what goes into training a real service dog and how to get one, let's clear up the legal confusion around other types of animals people often see in public, like emotional support animals and therapy dogs. We talked about what service dogs are and what laws apply to them earlier. So now let's turn to other types of support and therapy animals. Emotional support animals, or ESAs, are not trained to perform specific tasks. Instead, they provide comfort through companionship. ESAs are protected under the Fair Housing Act, which allows them to live in housing that typically has a no pets policy. In order to get this special accommodation, though, you have to have a letter signed by a licensed mental health provider. However, ESAs do not have public access rights like service dogs do, meaning they are not permitted in restaurants, stores, or other public places, and they are not recognized by the ADA, which means sweet little bird can't just go with you everywhere you want. Only true service dogs have full public access rights. Therapy dogs, on the other hand, are trained. They are trained to provide comfort and emotional support in group settings such as hospitals, schools, and disaster zones. They work under the direction of a handler and are often part of structured programs. Therapy dogs do not have individual rights under the ADA or the Fair Housing Act, and they are only allowed in public places when invited as a part of an official program. So let's do a very quick summary. Service dogs are ADA protected, task trained, and have full public access. Emotional support animals, or ESAs, are FHA protected for housing only. They are not task trained and they do not have public access. So again, your sweet little birdie bird can't go with you. Therapy dogs, no federal protection, trained for behavior, not tasks, allowed only in approved environments. This is why it matters so much that we understand the legal definitions. Misrepresenting a pet as a service dog isn't just unethical, it's illegal in many states. It also puts real service dog teams at risk and damages public trust. So how about we discuss fake service dogs? I know you've seen it. Someone walks into a grocery store or an airport with a little dog in a stroller or a purse. Maybe the dog is barking, pulling, or jumping up on people. It's wearing a vest that you can get on Amazon for fairly cheap. And when they're questioned, they say, "Oh, it's my service dog," because clearly they are lying. And though many think it's harmless, it's not. It's actually very dangerous, not just for the general public, but mainly for those of us who rely on having our fully trained service dog with us in public. If you're asking how fake service dogs harm real service dogs, well, let's talk about that. They can distract or endanger real service dogs. Legitimate service dogs are trained to focus, to ignore distractions, and to stay calm no matter what's going on. But even the best trained dog has its limits. If a fake service dog lunges, barks, or tries to play or fight, it can break the focus of a working dog mid-task, cause the service dog to miss an alert, create a traumatic association with certain public places, cause physical harm to the service dog or their handler. One bad interaction can set a dog back months on training or even cause that dog to have to be washed out. Think about that. Imagine losing your medical device, because that's what a service dog is, all because someone brought their pet into a store for convenience. Because that's exactly what that is. It's convenience for that person. Most people who have fake service dogs tend to be very selfish people who don't care about the harm their actions could bring to others. A particular weight loss influencer comes to mind. If you know, you know. All right, next up, it undermines the public's trust. When people see aggressive or misbehaving dogs in public wearing fake vests, they start to doubt all service dogs. Handlers get more questions, more side eyes, and more businesses who refuse entry. I've personally heard someone say, well, the last service dog peed in the aisle, or the last service dog bit someone, so we don't allow any dogs anymore. This damages the credibility that real service dog teams have worked very hard to build, and they make it harder for us to navigate the world safely. They also create legal and access issues. Some businesses that are frustrated with misbehavior from fake service animals start illegally denying all dogs, even legitimate ones. That leads to discrimination lawsuits, stress for disabled patrons, and tension between the disability community and business owners. Handlers often feel like they have to defend themselves everywhere they go. They have to know and be able to explain the law, answer invasive questions that they legally don't have to answer, and are constantly being treated with suspicion. Those of us who need a service dog shouldn't have to prove our disability in order to enter a store. But unfortunately, fake service dogs have made that experience far too common. You're probably wondering how fake service dogs can even happen. Well, it's surprisingly easy to buy a vest or a fake ID online with no proof required. Some websites even falsely claim that they can register your dog, and that registration is legally required. But please know this, there is no official national service dog registry in the United States, and any site or person who claims there is a scam. If someone tells you that their dog is a registered service dog and shows you an ID, it is very likely that that is a fake service dog. Not always, of course, but most often. A lot of people with fake service dogs do it to exploit the service dog label to get out of paying pet fees, travel restrictions, or housing rules, which also hurts real service dogs. So if you're a business, you can ask the 2 questions I mentioned earlier in this episode, and that is all you are legally allowed to ask. However, if a service dog is misbehaving, you absolutely can't ask them to leave. And if you're someone who thinks it's okay to misrepresent a pet as a service dog, just don't, because it is not a victimless shortcut. It hurts real people like me and others who have legitimate disabilities and puts us at risk. I know how much many of us love our pets and how amazing they can make us feel. But a service dog isn't a luxury. It's a medical tool and a lifeline for many. Faking a service dog doesn't just harm others, it's actually breaking the law too. So keep that in mind. I hope this episode has been informative. Getting a service dog isn't easy. It's not fast, and it's certainly not cheap. But for the people with disabilities, it can be a powerful tool for independence and safety. I hope that I've helped you understand the difference between what a service dog, an ESA, and a therapy dog is. And I hope that I've helped you to understand how fake service dogs hurt real service dogs. If you're considering a service dog, take your time, do your research, talk to a trainer or a program you trust, and know that you are not alone in this journey. Thank you so much for joining me today on Living Beyond the Invisible, A Walk with Heather. If you'd like to connect or learn more about the podcast, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram at Living Beyond the Invisible, A Walk with Heather. I'll have those linked along with resources and references from today's episode in the show notes. I'm Heather, and until next time, take care of yourself and always remember some of the bravest battles we fight are the ones no one else can see.